Hello, this is Ralph Fusatola. I'm one of the trustees of Natural Solutions Foundation, that is healthfreedomusa.org. And I'm here today to talk to you a bit about a trip I just took to Washington, D.C. over the weekend. This is middle of May in the year 2010, and I went to Washington to meet with my co-trustees of the Natural Solutions Foundation, General Bert Stubblebine and Dr. Rima Lebo. And we met together with some attorneys that we work with in Washington and with the lobbyists. And we had some very interesting discussions over this weekend about health freedom and about the laws and bills pending in Congress. And I wanted to talk to you just for a moment or two about those and to tell you about how you can take action to make a difference in what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Well, there are the good and the bad in Washington, as always, everywhere. In the case of the good, we have several bills pending before the Congress, including the Free Speech About Science Act, and including two bills that Congressman Ron Paul, Dr. Ron Paul, has introduced, also about free speech having to do with health matters. Now, you know, we are facing nationalized health care in this country, and while we believe that nationalized health care will be repealed, we know that the threats to health freedom will continue. And those threats are oftentimes in the form of bills pending in front of Congress. And right now there are two bad bills pending that we need to speak about briefly. Number one, oddly enough, is the Wall Street Reform Bill. Now, the Wall Street Reform Bill, which is Senate Bill, I believe, 3217, you would think, what does that have to do with health freedom? Well, one of the vitamin industry's not friends in Congress, Congressman Waxman from California, put in that bill a clause that basically would give the Federal Trade Commission overall regulatory authority to impose very severe restrictions on the natural products industry. Restrictions that would basically hold up vitamins, foods, and natural products to the same standard as dangerous drugs are held to. Now, these are not dangerous drugs, these are foods, and they certainly don't need to be held to those standards. So number one is the so-called Wall Street Reform Act, which contains in it a poison pill to attack natural products. And number two is the Senate 510, the so-called Food Safety Bill, what we say is the fake Food Safety Bill, and it would do something very similar. It would apply to natural food products, to organic farms, to family ranches, to community gardens and farmers markets, the same sort of controls that are deemed to be necessary for big industrialized food production. Now, there are threats to health from big industrialized food production. Those threats do not exist in natural farming methods, in organic community gardens, and in family farms and family produce. That's simply not real. What happens is a new law is adopted which creates tremendous barriers against entry, which destroys the small producers in order to uplift the big industrial producers. It's simply more of the same. And that bill is S510. Well, we want to oppose those bills. And we've set up on our website, healthfreedomusa.org, a series of action items that you can take where you'll send messages to Congress. We know these messages work. For example, 3 million messages were sent to members of Congress and state legislators over the past year telling them that we would not accept forced vaccination for any so-called flu pandemic. And the forced vaccination program that the U.S. government had in place, that was on the FDA's own website, where they were going to spread out this swine flu vaccine throughout the population using a dangerous adjuvant that even the FDA's own scientists would not approve. That whole plan, after spending $6.4 billion of our money on it, that plan collapsed. There was no pandemic. In fact, it was one of the lightest flu seasons on record because people refused to accept the vaccine, the very vaccine that causes the flu epidemic every year. Yes, yes indeed. It is the vaccine. You ought to go on healthfreedomusa.org and take a look at what Dr. Lebo has written. Look up the article, The Syringe of Death, and you'll find out a lot about the vaccine menace. But that's not what we're here about today. We're here about stopping several bad bills and supporting several good bills. The bad bills are this Wall Street Reform Bill, which contains the poison pill to attack natural products, and the Fake Food Safety Bill, S510. They are linked. And how are they linked? Well, right now the Food Bill is behind the Reform Act. And if the Reform Act is delayed, as it appears to be, then the Food Bill will be delayed. And if the Fake Food Safety Bill is delayed until July, and now it's mid-May, it will not get acted on before Congress goes on recess and comes back in September. And as you know, in September, we get very close to the elections. And the elections will change things dramatically in this country. I think that's very clear. And so the effort is to delay in order to defeat. Delay in this case equals victory. And so I ask you, please go to healthfreedomusa.org and go to the Take Action on the Issues. And you'll see on the top is a place where you can go, a link to click, which will bring you to a page that lets you take actions specifically to oppose the Wall Street Reform Act and the Fake Food Safety Act. In addition, you'll see on here places you can go to take positive steps to support the Free Speech and Science Act and the two bills that Representative Ron Paul has introduced, and also to support the concept that we've developed over the past couple of weeks with the help of a number of health freedom activists around the country, and that is the idea of a Health Freedom Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, an amendment in this case is an organizing tool. It helps us focus on what we need, and it helps us understand why health freedom is under attack. It's under attack because, for one reason, our federal courts have not been very helpful in allowing private citizens to go to court and defend their rights. There are a number of cases that we've been involved with in the past couple of years in which the courts have said, you plaintiffs don't have standing. Drug companies, they have standing. They can go in and sue. Individual citizens, we have to have a special harm before we can sue. So we want to change the law to allow citizens to have standing to sue, to protect themselves against government intervention and interference with natural food remedies, and, of course, government favoritism for dangerous drugs, for industrialized food, and for all the bad things like genetically modified organisms and vaccines that we know are being the basic cause, they are the central cause of the collapse of health and wellness in this society. So I ask you, please, go to healthfreedomusa.org. Join us in taking action, sending messages to your representatives. It's easy. It's a few clicks of your mouse. Become a mouse warrior. Join General Stubblebine's Mouse Warrior Corps and take action today. Thank you. This has been Ralph Fusatola for Natural Solutions Foundation, healthfreedomusa.org.